Hi, I'm Ellen, and welcome to day 26 of Vlog Every Day in April. Today's topic is the Akashic Records. So, what are the Akashic Records? My guides are ready to answer that question, so I'm going to give them the floor, and then we'll discuss. We notice the Akashic Records are as though a hall of records for all activity of the soul, for all ways of being. It is one which is unlimited to ways of incarnation, planets, galaxies, universes. It includes everything your soul has undertaken. Ooh, that broadens my perspective on the Akashic Records. I've always thought of the Akashic Records, once I learned about them and intuitively felt into them, that they contained everything about our soul and its journey. However, I know for a fact that I then added another component to that, which is on Earth. So I limited my understanding and my openness to receiving information from the Akashic Records unwittingly by doing that. So, unlike yesterday's topic where we talked about other lives and how to view other lives, whether through hypnosis, meditation, dreams, with the Akashic Records, okay, go ahead. We notice that the most beneficial way to view the Akashic Records is to perhaps find a self-hypnosis which will permit you to enter the Akashic Records and then be aware that you will not wish to put any limitation or permit whoever has created the meditation any limitation upon what you may view once there. In this way, you will see far more than you could imagine. And we notice it may be that you will see what makes you uncomfortable, what makes you question everything you feel you know about yourself, about your world, about the universe. We notice that if this is the way, it is because it is time for it to be the way. Ooh, so it could be like opening that can of worms. What happens when you open a can of worms? And by the way, the thought of a can of worms just makes me sick to my stomach because I don't want to see live worms contained in that way. That's just me. However, for the purpose of this visual, what would happen if you opened a can of live worms? Those worms are going to be coming out of that can. They aren't going to stay in there. Once that top is off, they're going to be out of there. And so that's the whole thing with a can of worms. I mean, the can might look small, but there could be hundreds of worms in that can, right? And that could be in the context of opening the Akashic Records, perhaps a little overwhelming. They just showed me the scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark when the Ark of the Covenant is opened and all that comes out of it, that relatively small box from our human perspective couldn't possibly contain. It would be similar to that. And I appreciate the visual because the thing is, it's a lot of spiritual stuff in context, just as was with the Ark of the Covenant. It was all spiritually oriented stuff, much to the horror of the Nazis. So I know there's going to be another message. The energies are changing inside of me, so there will be someone else who will want to offer a message. They're showing me right now a huge book. I actually feel like I'm holding this mammoth book in my hands. It's so heavy. Feels like it has a leather binding. I don't know how many pages it has. Hundreds, thousands. And the pages are not thin. It's a lovely, rich kind of paper. And then behind it, I can see bookshelves, or beyond it, I can see rows and rows and rows of shelves. So that's another way that I have oftentimes seen the Akashic Records. It's like entering a library. That's what it feels like to me. I love libraries. And just imagine that that library is basically the library of everything. Everyone and everything. Can you imagine the scope of it? Pretty wild to consider. Are we ready? Okay, so that energy seems to have locked and loaded. So let's find out what we notice that in the Akashic Records, it could be said that it is the embodiment of the systems, the weights, the balances, all components, all user manuals of all that exists. It is, you might understand, the entirety of all that is, as though it could be that source is constructed from all these parts, from all these materials. Okay. I just asked if there's anything else to say about that, and they said no, and yet there's another change happening here. I feel like we're getting deeper and deeper here. What was said feels similar to what has already been said. What's interesting is the addition of kind of the user manuals, the whole construct of everything that is. So it isn't just books and books and books of souls, of places. It's also the manuals, the encyclopedias of everything that created all of that. That's like a mind-blowing moment here for me. It's a really big concept. Are we ready to talk again? No. We are exchanging energy. We notice that an energy which has not yet indwelled is engaging, and it is almost time. Okay. So let's see if I have anything else to say about what was offered up, or if I can get something clairvoyantly while I'm waiting for this energy to finish engaging. Yeah, they're showing me one of the pyramids in Egypt, and then they're showing me what looks like a cache of books embedded under one corner of the pyramid. Oh, is it the Sphinx? Or is it the one nearest the Sphinx? One which is nearest the Sphinx. So whichever pyramid that is closest to the Sphinx. And the way it's being shown to me is I can actually see, as I'm viewing it, the front right corner of the Sphinx. So here's the Sphinx's face, and what would actually be the left paw, but from my perspective it's the right hand side. This is the angle I'm looking at, so I can actually see a lot of the side of the Sphinx as well as the front of it. And then I see the pyramid behind it, and it's that corner closest to the Sphinx that the books are apparently under. Are those related to the Akashic Records? Yeah, we noticed the writings of an Egyptian. Oh, okay. So that's interesting. Are we ready? We are here because we noticed the Akashic Records have changed, and we noticed that you could say that there is a new glossary for the Akashic Records, and the glossary contains more details about what the records contain, as we noticed that with the evolution of Earth, there is an evolution occurring in a more broad spectrum, and this spectrum is requiring the Akashic Records to adapt. Oh, that's interesting. And we notice, you could say that it is important because as you are evolving, as Earth is evolving, Akashic Records evolve. And it is of a curious notion for we that this would be so, as of course Earth was in experiment and we did not understand that the experiment would so energize the Akashic Records. Oh, I have no idea what this energy is, but it's a really different energy. I like it. But oh, that's really fascinating that Earth is actually exerting change upon the Akashic, as they're seeing records through its evolution. And that was not foreseen. It wasn't expected. Then again, was any of this expected? I'm not sure. If we are an experiment, then, with an experiment, we noticed that you could say that there was curiosity regarding what might happen, and yet this was one curiosity we had not considered. Okay. Can I ask who you are? It is we. And who is we? We are the Council of Light. And we are the full embodiment of the Council of Light. We notice you have worked with one small portion, and we are all indwelling at this point, and in this we are welcome. I'm not sure who's welcoming who. Ooh, okay. Well, thank you. We notice as well that in this, understand that we are consecrating the connection with the galactic energies. Yeah, I get that. That is not related to the Akashic Records, by the way. That's sort of a side note for me. And there you go. So, anything else to say about the Akashic Records at this point in time? We simply would invite humans to explore the Akashic Records, and to do so with the understanding that what they will see within their records will perhaps surprise them. Yeah, keep an open mind. Also be really clear with yourself. Are you ready to see what's in your Akashic Records? Are you prepared to witness things that may be completely beyond the scope of what you know, of what you believe you know, of what you believe. Just make sure that you can say a pretty strong yes to that before you dive in. And be aware too of what was said earlier in this recording about refraining from limiting your experience. Set the intention that no matter what your guide, as I just called it, may say through a guided meditation, that you are prepared to view everything you are at this point in time meant to view. Okay? So that way you aren't being limited inadvertently by what someone's guided script may say. So, wow, anything else to say before we end this? No. Very interesting. What are your thoughts on the Akashic Records? Is this a familiar topic to you? Is this a new topic for you? Have you explored the Akashic Records? And what are your thoughts, your insights, your feelings on that cache of books that we've been given a heads up about underneath one of the pyramids? What do you think they might say? Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, you take really good care. Lots of love.